Hello, this is Modern Master Art, and I'm back with a Bond poster which I've been wanting to do for a while now. This is the my drawing of the No Time to Die movie poster, which I kind of didn't rush, but I worked on it a lot to try and get it finished in time for the movie. I normally am behind the curve as far as drawing pictures, so I'm always doing stuff that I like after I've seen it, or a series is coming to the end, or it's already finished, and then I'm drawing things. And by the time I've done it, it's sort of there's people still like the picture, but it seems to be past the actual trend that it's that or the imagination of people at the time. So I wanted to sort of do something and be ahead of the curve and have something released that was during the actual premiere of a movie during the week, so that I could sort of tag on to a bit of hysteria, so to speak. So this I wanted to do for a while. This is not in the same style, obviously, as the Doctor No movie poster, which some of you may have seen. I wanted to do something a bit more modern, considering it's the latest Bond. So all that 60s style is a little bit different here. I've tried to do it more modern. So the Bond movie posters, as you see them now, tend to have a solid white background. So this is not like my Game of Thrones drawing, the poster I did for that one, where you see like a coloured background blending all the characters together just to sort of tie everything in. It seems to be a stark contrast. So with this, you'll see a solid white background, and it gives a chance for you to concentrate more on the colours and the detail on the things that have been drawn, and it sort of draws out all the highlights and colours and detail on that. So it's just a white background and it's quite stark, and a lot of Bond movie posters, if you look at them, tend to be on this white background, the majority of them, just with characters and no sort of background to it, and a sort of an amalgamation of different pictures and portraits. So obviously Daniel Craig is the biggest of the portraits here, and he took me around 35 to 40 hours, I would say. I've not quite exactly worked it out, but I think it's between 35 and 40 hours. So capturing all the detail on this was very time consuming, because you had to get all the wrinkles on his face. A smoother face, I find, tends to be an easier prospect. So I've seen a lot of people who draw portraits, and you'll notice that they can do them a lot relatively quicker if it's a younger face. There's less detail, there's less harsh lines to try and capture reflections and shadows. So obviously he's got a well travelled and worldly wise appearance, does Daniel Craig. He's got that manly man, rugged sort of thing going on. So there's a lot of detail on there's the vein on his head that you can see there. There's the detail with the wrinkles on his forehead and the crow's feet on his eye. And obviously there's a red light to the right, so it's reflecting the light differently with the light to the left of him. So there's a red light on there which highlights his face, and it's different from the light which is a lot brighter on the right. So it's two sorts of directions of light, and it took a long time. Now the second portrait is a character called Safin, who's played by Rami Malek. And this took longer, I think, to do, or just as long if I remember rightly, almost as the Daniel Craig one. And it's literally, I would say, it's less than a quarter of the size. The reason being, obviously, Malik's character in this has got some severe facial scarring, which we won't go into unless you're going to go and watch the film, so I don't want to be a spoiler. And at this point, there'll be people watching this years down the line who go, we all know why he's got the scars, but at this point, I'm not going to ruin it for people. So it was having to get all of the detail combined with his skin tone. So it was getting those wrinkles, the pock marks, the indents in the skin from the scarring. And obviously, because it's a harsh light conditions, it's very, very time consuming to combine the scarring, the shading, the shadowing, and the skin tone and texture into the actual drawing along with his flesh. So trying to balance that and get the mid-tones and the undertones right. So, you have a basic skin tone, which you start off, which sometimes is a greyish tone, depending on the light, or a blue. And then you pick it up by adding these flesh tones on top, which you can see on his forehead. There's almost a bruising-like colour to it. And that's not the fact that it's bruised. It's more to do with the fact that, yes, there's scarring on there, but it's reflecting the light that's shining on his face, and it sort of distorts the skin tone. Now, I really enjoyed doing this because I think it was a hard job to do, but I think I really captured that look of evil, I suppose, that he portrays really well. And again, with the lips, trying to blend the lips into the bottom of the chin, the stubble obviously combined. How do you make that look like stubble without it blending into the scarring as well? So you have to be careful with the colour selection, depending on where you're putting it on the face. So this took so long to get all the little individual details, and you can see me going and working around the face, and it's almost like a join the dots situation. I know that sounds strange, but it's almost like, well, I've got a bit here. Oh, right. Well, I know that line goes there. So it's like putting a puzzle together. You start with one line in one spot, and then you go, well, that must be around there, because I can picture where the other lines are connected. So it takes a while to make sure that you've got all those details in the right place. But I loved this face because it's very realistic, and the skin tone and texture is very realistic, and it's the glint in his eyes I want it to capture. And I think you'll agree I've done a pretty good job, and I'm a perfectionist with things like this. So if I enjoy what I've done in a picture, I know it's good because I've spent an awful lot of time sort of agonising over the details on it. So now we come to Nomi. Now I wanted to do Nomi just because I saw a clip from the trailer where she is sort of dressed in this commando type gear, like assault gear, and there was the lighting on one of the shots. I thought that looked fantastic. So obviously Lashana, what is her surname? That's going to really bug me now. I can't remember her surname. Lynch, Lashana Lynch, thank you, who plays Nomi, who is basically taken the role of 007 since in the film he's retired. So it's not that she's James Bond or taking over, which all the controversy was. You know, the 007 moniker is just basically an agent number, and he's retired and she's taking it on in the meantime. So I saw this, and I saw the skin tone on her. So obviously she's a black lady, and you look at the skin tone on the left and it's almost pearlescent, the skin, beautiful skin texture. And you've obviously got the lighting from one side of combining that skin texture, and then you look to the right, it's reflecting blue, and in the middle is that purple between the two colours where the two light sources meet. And I think the skin reflection, I just thought it was a stunning shot and would look brilliant on a picture, which is why I picked this particular image, just because it's really striking. It's a striking image, and again, it's a challenge of connecting those two different colour sources. With this, what I'm using is the Polychromos pencil crayons for the flesh. So mixed media, I'm using the Caran d'Ache Prismalo Aquarelle pencil crayons for the fine detail and colour blending, on top of the very fine colour for the flesh tones, using the Polychromos, which is brilliant for flesh tones. So this took, a long time to do, as they all do. They all take a while to complete these portraits, but the effort and time that goes in is very rewarding, because you can see it being built up as you're drawing it, and as the hours go by, you see it building up, and you think, yeah, this is going to look good. And I was really pleased with the results. And again, it's getting the reflection on the eye, because you don't want to highlight the eye that's in shadow too much, because it looks too dark and doesn't look realistic, and it almost looks like someone's hollowed the eyes out. So you've got to be careful you don't put too much on the eye that's in shadow, but then you've got to balance that out with the very, very light glint of reflection in the pupil that you see there. And it's trying to get the dimensions right, because there's obviously that look of concern on her face, something's going on, and you've got to try and convey it right, because if you get the eye wrong, if you get the brows wrong, it could look like she's, I don't know, the expression looks incorrect. And on there, you've got to make sure you measure it out properly and make sure you get the expression correct. And look at the colours on that. I absolutely love the colour combination on this. So I just thought, yeah, she's got to go on it, and it's just a different sort of texture and face to put on. So I went with the teal, or teal-like, or almost sort of teal colouring lettering, which I saw they sort of went with that colour scheme for the whole promotional stuff for the film. And rather than do the typical black and white lettering, which you see on a lot of the James Bond posters, I went with this lettering because I thought, yes, the colouring looks really good. No outline to it. Obviously, much of the time, people say, yes, I am doing most of this freehand. It's something that I wanted to do really well, because I'm such a massive Bond fan. I wanted to make sure that this lettering was nice and accurate. Let's not mess around. Yes, I could do it freehand, but do I want to spend that extra time where I can just use some measurements and use a ruler, get it all in line? Let's not be stupid about it. let's just draw the lettering, get the lines in there, fill them in, make sure all the lines are nice and straight, and the lettering then looks fantastic. So that is why we don't want to do that. That's the bottom line. So that's why we do this. So look at the lettering here. I'm pretty much complete with that. It didn't take an awful long time to do, which I was quite pleased about. It's just a case of making sure you don't go outside the lines and straightening the letters and you've got the dimensions correct. So it didn't take an awfully long time to do the lettering. Then I had the space after this in the bottom corner. What do I put in? Well, I thought for a long time I wanted to do the DB5 now, albeit this is a tiny portion and a small drawing of a car. I don't know how I completed this in the time that I did it in. So this probably took me, I've counted it on the camcorder for the amount of time it took me to do this, and I'm thinking it took me, when I've worked it out from the footage reel, just short of 7 hours. Now that, for me, for the amount of detail I like to put in pictures, is unheard of for a picture that size. It normally takes me a lot longer. Something possessed me because I wanted to get it finished, and I just worked like a trooper to get it done so that I could process it and get it uploaded to YouTube. So this is the scene where he's been chased in the DB5 and there's an explosion going off next to the car. Now, I didn't want to overcook it so it looked like a cartoon explosion, but you've got to strike a balance between the realism of the explosion and then, well, do you know what, maybe I need to pick up some extra colours in that explosion next to the car, which you'll see in a second. But it's getting the stonework and the shadowing from the neighbouring buildings correct, because if you get that wrong, you look like someone's... So you've got to make sure it looks correct. So I was really pleased with the result on this. The fact that I've drawn it so fast, and you look at the colouring on the car now, and you look at the explosion on there, that you have to get it so that it's reflected in the side of the car, and then trying to make that so it blends in with the rest of the surroundings, so it doesn't look too... it's not too bright against the other surroundings on there, and the windscreen's got to reflect every detail in there correctly. So it was just a bit of an action shot which complemented the rest of the picture, and it's something I wanted to add to the drawing anyway. And it is a very small picture of an Aston Martin, but I just wanted to include it on the drawing because I've been dying to draw this car for such a long time, and now I've managed to do it. Yes, it's a small one, but at some point I'm going to draw a much larger DB5. So at this point here, I'm just adding all the detail on the grille onto there, and the bits of rubble which have exploded from the actual, whatever it is, incendiary device which is exploding next to it, and just adding the rest of the detail on it, and the floor and the surroundings, just to give it that 3D effect. So this is almost complete now. And when you look at it, it's just adding all those touches onto the stonework and the guttering and the rest of the chrome on the front and the windscreen. And that is it. That's a complete drawing. So thanks for watching. And please like, share and subscribe to Modern Master Arts on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok and Facebook. And I'll see you again with another picture soon. Thank you very much. Bye bye.